Okay, hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 4th of December 2019. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's morning session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimers. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, also, just before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos. And of course, our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we update on a daily basis. So I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here for yourselves, guys. So feel free to visit us on jfdbank.com and click on the tab research right here. So yep, guys, like I said, feel free to visit us, and I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here. But for now, let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the German DAX. Now, I looked at this one yesterday, and basically, of course, as you understand, the equity market sold off yesterday on the worries on the new tariffs. So again, for now, looking at the technical picture here on the DAX, we can see that the cash index is currently balancing around, or just should I say slightly above, the 13,000 level again. So in a way, we're going to keep an eye on this 13,044 mark that I talked about recently, because if it continues to trade around here, we could see another round of selling. And in a way, how you could play this one out here is just probably wait, given that the cash index is already back slightly around the 13,000 level. You could in a way just wait until we see a drop below the 12,955 mark and then target the downside. Now, the downside could be limited, of course, because we're still above this upside support line taken from the low of the 15th of August. So in a way, this move lower could still be seen as a temporary correction before another leg of buying. And the reason for the buying is, of course, this upside support line. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, the upside line might fail to withhold, and we could see a deeper slide lower. But until this line remains intact, overall, we should remain still somewhat positive. But from the very short-term perspective, a bit of declines could still happen. So, but we'll consider further declines if we see a drop below the 12,954-55 zone, roughly around here. In case this index decides to travel higher earlier, we'll keep a close eye on this 13,165 mark, which is the low of the 28th of November. A nice good push above this. This could, in a way, open the path back up here towards the highs of November near the 13,374-75 mark, and then we'll take it from there. See what he wants to do after. But for now, it seems that the index is stuck. Of course, it could still drift lower, depending on the news, of course, that could be coming out. So it's something to keep an eye on, guys, for today, for this week especially. Let's see if the index can drift further down. So in a way, this little pause here, could it be just a temporary pause before the bears regroup again and start selling? That's why, guys, for now, keep your eyes on this level right here near the 12,954-55 mark. And if we get a nice good drop below this, and maybe if we get a nice 4-hour candle close below this, then yes, we could consider further declines here. And in a way, we'll aim for the 12,795 or this upside support line. quite similar story here on the FTSE. Now the FTSE has retraced a little bit. It currently is trading slightly below this key barrier here. Now it worked out nicely here. When I last time looked at the FTSE, I was telling you guys, if we get a drop below the 7,323-24 mark, this in a way increases the chances of a further drift lower. Now this is what we got. We did get a hit of our 7,199 mark, but or should I say even actually not 99 but the 97 mark. We did get a hit of that, and we even had a nice overshoot here where the index reached another one of our key support levels near the 7,140 mark, so from which you can see it rebounded and pushed back a little bit higher. Again, the way we could approach this right now is probably just wait for a drop below the 7,140 zone in order to consider further declines, because again, for now, this could be a little bit of a tricky one given the sharp, steep sell-off that we had here. So maybe a bit of correction here back up could be possible to see. So we'll keep a close eye on this 7,197 zone. Or in a way you could round it up towards the 7,200. If it holds, then we could see another round of selling. But again, for us to get a little bit comfortable with the downside, a drop below the 7,140 level would be required. If by any chance the index decides to travel back up here and starts pushing back above the 7,324 mark, then, well, I mean, this is where it could become a little bit interesting for the buyers again, because this in a way could increase the chances of another test of the 7,440 zone, so 4041 mark right here. And again, this, if we do see such a move, then we could be getting ourselves a very nice wide range here. So something to keep an eye on, and basically it could just prove how strong these two levels are, the 7,141 on the upside and the 7,441 on the upside and 7,140 on the downside. So that's why, guys, for now, keep your eyes on this. Be very careful near this 7,140 zone. If it drifts lower, we need to see a break below this in order to consider further declines. Gold, well, obviously it accelerated given the sell-offs that we had across all the equity markets, and so everybody's jumping into safe havens like silver, which I talked about yesterday, gold, of course, the yen, which I'll talk shortly about, but basically for now, the technical picture here is we can see that it is trading still below this downside resistance line taken from the the high of the 4th of September, and the commodity is now breaking some of our key resistance levels, and it's kind of making its way higher towards this downside line. This is going to be our target for now. Don't get me wrong, we may see a bit of correction before another leg of buying, so in a way, do not exclude a possibility of seeing something like this, of course, where we could see this one curving to the downside and then moving higher. For now, the big question here is, can it actually continue pushing higher? Now, don't get me wrong. This, if it travels a little bit higher, for example, today, if it tests the 1486 mark, it could stall around here. It could get a retracement back down, maybe towards the 1478, 79 mark, or even a little bit lower here to test the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. But if this suddenly starts failing to withhold the price, and we see a drop, the price falling below the 1473 mark, now this is where it could become interesting for the sellers here, maybe, because we could maybe consider slightly lower areas here. Now, a few levels need to be adjusted. This is no longer valid. Of course, the first one to keep an eye on is going to be this 1466 mark, marked by the high of the 29th of November, but then slightly below that, and let me just put this one on the chart, slightly below that, we could target the 1459.60 mark. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. Again, we will consider slightly lower areas if we see a drop back below the 1473 mark. And of course, keep your eyes on the equity markets. If those start recovering today, then we could see gold reversing. Yes, so this could come in line with this idea. WTI oil, so something to keep an eye on still. Of course, we do have the OPEC meeting, OPEC Plus meeting tomorrow, and which will last until Friday. Basically, after we had a nice drop here through the lower side of the rising channel, you can see that the commodity drifted lower, but then it started recovering here again, but is struggling to push above its 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So for now, we will remain neutral, because for us to consider higher levels, ideally we would like to see a push. And by the way, given that it moved already a little bit, so we would like to see a push back inside this rising channel pattern above the 57.20 zone. If we do see something like this, then yes, we will consider slightly higher levels again. And by higher levels, I mean the highs of November, so which were near the 58.70 mark. In order to get comfortable with the downside, we'll take a very conservative approach here and wait for a drop below the 54.83 zone, and only then aim for the downside. So that's why, guys, for now, keep your eyes on these two levels. Be very careful tomorrow. We may see this one just stalling and just moving sideways here a little bit until tomorrow and Friday. So that's why, guys, be very careful with this one. And yep, keep your eyes on the OPEC Plus meeting and the news that will be coming out from there. AUDJPY now, this is quite interesting. So of course the risk off environment is pushing this pair down. So it did in the beginning of this week, it did try to make its way higher, and it did succeed. It pushed above the 74.30 mark, and this is what I was saying, that if we do get a nice break here above the 74.30, we will then target the 74.95 zone. But as you can see, the pair didn't quite reach that level, so it fell shy just a few pips, about 10 pips from reaching that area. And basically now it's drifting lower, and the most important thing is that it's breaking this upside support line taken from the low of the 23rd of August. Again, for now we'll be very careful here. And for us to consider slightly lower areas, ideally we would like to see a drop below the 73.89 zone, and only then aim for the downside. Again, guys, for now, let's keep an eye on this one, and let's keep an eye on this level here. If it, like I said, if it drifts further down south here, then yep, a break below the 73.89 could open the path towards the low of the 14th of November near the 73.34 mark. So keep your eyes on this one. USDCAD, so something important to keep an eye on today. So today we do have the Canadian Bank of Canada so on the agenda. So, and it's of course its interest rate decision. No expectations are for any cuts or rises, increases. The rate is expected to come out at the same 1.75. So in a way, keep your eyes on this one, guys. This is going to be quite interesting to see if it can continue, let's say, pushing higher and trading above this upside support line. So for now, it continues to respect it. Let's see if it can continue doing that. The falling channel that I had initially here, we can get rid of it because the upper side got violated, and basically the main focus right now is just going to be on a key resistance area, which is near the 1.3328 zone, which is around the high, or should I say the highest point of November. So that's why we need to see a push above this level first in order to get comfortable with slightly higher areas. For now, we're just going to remain neutral, because for the downside, even if we do get a break below this upside line, ideally a drop below the 1.3251 zone here would be needed in order to consider lower areas. So that's why, guys, for now we'll remain neutral on this one, although it is trading above this upside support line. But in order to get comfortable with higher levels, a push above the the 1.3328 zone is required. GBPUSD, quick mentioning of this. I talked about this one yesterday, and basically just a quick update on it. And you can see that this barrier here, the 1.3013 level, continues to act as a fantastic area of resistance. This is what we're waiting for. We need to see a break of this level in order to consider higher levels. By higher levels, I mean the next potential target for us is going to be around the 1.3186, which is the highest point of May. But for until then, we're going to remain neutral and just going to continue observing this one. In terms of the downside from the short-term perspective, ideally, we would like to see a drop below the 1.2928 zone, roughly around here. But to be honest, looking at this picture right now, and by the way, let me just get rid of some of these lines, so this one no longer valid, but this one is still valid. So in a way, given that the pair has actually drifted a little bit more to the right, so we could actually start considering slightly lower areas if we see a drop below the 1.2950 zone. So if we do see a break below this, then yes, we will aim for the downside, but we'll be very careful with it. And initially, we will aim for the 1.2881 zone here, marked near the lows of the 29th of November. And then after that, we will take it from there, see what he wants to do after. And the last pair for this session, as always, the euro dollar. So you can see that this is what I talked about yesterday. I talked about this level here, the 1.1093, and basically what I was saying, that if the pair struggles to push above it, this and then let's say decides to retrace lower, all this could be forming a nice wide range here. So for now, it is stuck in a range. We can see that, but once, let's say, this barrier here, the upper side of the range, gets broken, now this is where we'll get a little bit more excited with the upside. And for now, we're going to remain neutral here, because for us to consider lower areas, a drop below the 1.1043 level is required, because this way the rate could also travel below all of its EMAs here on the 4-hour chart, and this could be seen as a bearish indication. So that's why, guys, for now, we'll remain neutral and keep an eye on some of these key levels. So on the upside is the 1.1093, on the downside the 1.1043, but again, we'll be also very careful here, because the downside, we will only target the lower side of this range here, and then we're going to take it from there, see what he wants to do after. For now, everything's kind of still leaning more towards the upside, but in order to get comfortable with the upside, we need to see a break of the upper side of this range, which is around the 1.1093 level. Okay, guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. If you want to join me later on at my trader's tea time today, as always, 14:15 GMT, we'll pick up on some of these instruments. We'll add some new ones, and yes, we'll see how the market has reacted to all the economic news today. So yeah, keep your eyes on the calendar, and I'll see you later at my trader's tea time, 14:15 GMT. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.